the vibration. So we're a song in a universe, which, and the thing that gets me is that most people don't know that words are magic and that they're spells and that they're casting the whole time that they're speaking. And you start catching the rhythms of words. You're like, holy crap, do you know what you just said? You said we're one song. We live in a universe. We are one song. We go to school to learn how to spell. So we cast spells with our words because our words are power. And so they speak and manifest truth into existence, which is nothing more than perception that's malleable by each bit of attention you give it. I put science into my explanations too. I love it. It's like my little rabbit hole. You know, I've got lessons that I'm developing and documentation I'm developing that explains psychic awareness and where it comes from. And I like to back it up because I'd like to say, no, it's not woo-woo. Because that's what, my family, sometimes I'll randomly call them and say, hey, have you noticed the time is changing? They're like, my sister's like, Alethea, can you warm me up first before you start talking about this weird stuff you talk about? And I said, and so I get it that sometimes there has to be a way you can introduce the topic, and I think that having a basis of science underneath allows me to introduce topics to people that make them either shut down, and that's fine. If you shut down when you hear the message, that means you're not at that vibration. You're not ready for that discussion, and that's okay. Go on your journey, but if my words can resonate with you, you're like, oh, you have that aha moment, you're like, wait a minute, I'm curious now. That means that there was an intentional statement that connected to your consciousness that you know is true for you as well. So.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so speaking of the rising consciousness, that's what this is all about. So as I'm seeing consciousness rising and accelerating the shifts that are occurring, that we're in the middle right now. Speaking of my family's the same way. Can you? Back in the day, they would call me Dr. Doom and Gloom because I say there's a lot of different changes that are coming, and it's going to look very differently. And back then, I wasn't. I was less mature in my view of what was coming. Now I've learned a lot more since then, but my family's kind of the same in a similar fashion. My son, although who's a 401 generator, which means he has a fixed perspective. He only does things a certain way, and that's the way it is. But even he is opening up, and he is very materialistically based as well, being a 4. And he is opening up to these concepts because he's noticing pop. He said, I noticed the governments are starting to go down, and the economic system is starting to crumble. He's even noticing all these things occurring around the world, and which him and I have a commonality within Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as a coming alternative to the current economic system. And that's how he and I kind of relate on that level. But he's noticing all of these things that are occurring, and he asked me what's going to happen, and so he's more open to it. The point is that he and people like him are more open to it. Even Lynette. Lynette's only, she's been into consciousness for a long time. However, being a 2-4, she's very much tied into the mainstream. And so people like Lynette, who are very much tied into the mainstream and pretty comfortable with the way things have been, are starting to awaken and see that things aren't really what they thought it was. They thought that the president was doing things for good, for the people. Now people like Lynette are starting to realize that the whole political structure really is just a corporatocracy. Mm-hmm. It's really just a one-party system, if you can even call it a party. Because we're the ones that are going to start having a party. In fact, we're in a party. Yes. And as their influence starts waning, they start losing the grasp that they have on the power structure as things are breaking down. And one of the major awakening moments for me that have occurred over the last several years is that there is no one size fits all. And I was aware of that for pretty much my whole life, but I have one exception to that. When I learned about veganism and vegetarianism, back in 96, 97, I thought that that was the diet and lifestyle for everyone. Everyone should be that way. And that's how it was for 20 years. And I kept promoting that to my family, to everyone that was around. I mean, you should be vegan, vegetarian. And that was really a contradiction of my idea that I firmly believed in, that there is no one size fits all. We're all unique individuals. Until, like I said, the last few years, I started learning that actually for me, my higher consciousness has made me aware that that I should be having poultry in my life for a specified period of time. And so I started doing that. So I stopped being vegan/vegetarian. And that taught me that there is no one size fits all, truly. That was like the final piece of the puzzle that made me awaken and realize that we're all unique and everyone's different. And within human design, it speaks of we are moving out of what's called the cross of planning. And the cross of planning is about contracts and obligations. And from my perspective, we're moving into the actual terminology is that we're moving to the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is my partner Grace's life theme, the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is rising and falling, rebirthing and coming back up. But one of the things that human design, and from my perspective, talks about is that we're going to shift away from planning, contracts, and obligations and into desire. And that is something that's, as I speak to people, even now, and even to my partner Lynette, it's a concept that's kind of foreign when I say, people should live their lives based on desire. Why do people have to go to work? Why is that? And that's because of where we were coming from, because it's from obligation. That's the system that was set up. And it was set up and put into place with conditioning programming, which is what we've all received. Now, some of the conditioning programming is very beneficial. Can be empowering. It helps us understand how we can operate in this reality. It's our default operating system. Just like a computer has an operating system, we're essentially biological computers. And that operating system allows us to function within society. But a lot of the conditioning program that we received growing up, things like when our parents, without realizing it, said things to us like, "What's wrong with you?" Or "Why can't you be more like so-and-so?" "When are you going to grow up?" All of these disempowering programming, that's what it is. It's all programming. Most people don't realize it, but it is programming. Excuse me, it's very disempowering. So it helped me to realize that I needed to change that, the conditioning program that I received, so that I could become empowered. Because I was, just like everybody else, very fear-based, fear of judgment, fear of loss, afraid of losing my position, losing whatever I had, the people being judged. I had all these kind of fears. But eventually, over time, as following the process that I learned that to let go of these fears. Because the fears are just controlling us. People, from my perspective, people have been taught that fear is good because it protects us and it keeps us alive. But that's actually our survival instinct, which is something different and separate from fear. Fear is actually, from my perspective, a control mechanism. And that's all it does, is control us, fear. Because when you're in fear, what can you do? Most people can be like a deer in headlights when they're in fear. They don't know what to do, how to proceed. But when you're in your survival instinct, you know exactly what to do. You just go and do what you gotta do. If you gotta run away from a situation, you gotta run, take off. Fight or flight, you're just gonna do it. That's the survival instinct, which is completely different than fear. So this is part of the new paradigm principles that I'm promoting to help people with this shift that's coming and what I foresee that's going to be happening. And some of the things that I foresee are the dollar being taken off as the world currency standard. And when that happens, that is most likely going to cause hyperinflation within this country, and there's going to be people that are going to be without jobs and food, and it can cause chaotic situations. But it can also be an opportunity. If you think back in the Great Depression, a lot of rich people, a lot of fortunes were made during the Great Depression because people viewed it as an opportunity. So I view everything in life as an opportunity. So what's coming, even though for a lot of people, it can be something that's going to set them backwards because the purity waves are pushing us in whatever direction we're going. And so we are likely going to see more chaotic situations. But for the people like us, and the people that we share this with and we help awaken, they have the opportunity to see it as an opportunity and to take advantage of that opportunity and move themselves into a space and a consciousness where we choose what we're affected by, and most people, if they have the ability and the power to choose what they're affected by, are going to choose something different than suffering or chaos. What do you guys think about that?
Absolutely. I love how you say that the coming challenges are an opportunity, because one thing that I've learned and that I got to experience myself on my journey of education is that we've been conditioned to avoid discomfort. We've been conditioned to go after conveniences. To avoid discomfort is to avoid growth. To go after convenience is to be in chains because you put yourself in a box, but it's also conveniences that we've been conditioned to take advantage of are also the things that have been destructive to the natural order of the world. You know, I think that many of us walk around with blinders on and only look at the limited vision of the me and the how does this serve me. And so with this new opportunity, we have a chance to say, how do we work together to understand that scarcity is an illusion that was created by an institution, and that all the things that we're afraid of are manufactured fears. And I'm challenged by that sometimes, but I'm also excited about the opportunity for growth, because as my awareness extends outside of my mind and into my body, as I'm able to really appreciate the value of now, I've become more of a doer. And I've gone after my desires, and I've realized that going after what you desire to bring yourself pleasure is such a simple thing that we've denied ourselves as a species. And I mean, you look around, there's not one squirrel in the woods saying, oh my God, I gotta go to work so I can get my nut. But somehow we were like, oh my God, I have to go to work. We're in our cars and we're pissed off in the morning because we're on traffic. We're like, oh, I'm rushing to get to the place I hate. I'm rushing. You know? And you get to devalue that system as soon as the dollar's devalued, because you'll realize that money is just a tool that that some people have allowed to become their God. And when you break that relationship and you look and you open your eyes and you look around at the abundance that is everywhere, you'll remember what your ancestors used to eat, and you'll realize there's a lot more food around you than you ever thought, and that you're gonna be okay. And so I'm really excited about the opportunity to put myself in a position to stay calm and to really appreciate the challenge and the struggle, and learn how to grow from it. Just like one of my favorite metaphors that I recently I wrote a poem about is about does the butterfly cry, or does the caterpillar cry when she becomes a butterfly? Because this caterpillar is running around eating its whole life, just trying to survive being a squishy little worm. It's not the cutest thing, but somehow it'll go into the chrysalis, completely melt into a ball of gush, and pop out with the most beautiful, expansive wings. We're like, oh my God, look at the magical fairy. We're like, that's so beautiful. Wow, and it's just fluttering around, looking like a god, looking like an angel. And yet, did it cry when it had to turn to butterfly? Were we just not able to hear the screams? Because that's what life is all about. It's about growing. It's about taking that pain and just bear through it and being aware of it and appreciating it and say, oh, I'm growing, because I'm no longer fitting in the life that I had, and it's time to change into a butterfly. And then once you let it go, you're like, holy crap, this is amazing. And this is an opportunity that I really hope that not hope, but I know that we can bring in our new age with that perspective. So that we're not freaking, what's that show called? Living Dead or something? Where like everybody's like, oh, killing each other. You know, I'm like, that's not what is supposed to happen. That's like, you don't have to develop a world where just because the dollar collapses, people have to go after each other and break each other for a dollar that doesn't exist. No, we say, how can I help you? I'm here to serve. How can we help each other? And then that's where the value is just realizing that we're here as a cohesive unit, even in our differences.
Is there anything that you want to share about what you see coming here in the near future?
Let me think about that for a second. For me, I don't, the thing is, in my experience, is that there's multiple outcomes, from my understanding. There's multiple outcomes that are happening right now, and that will happen, and that have happened. And so, it's kind of like jumping through time. You choose the path you want to go on, because everything, it's like a cell. It comes together, it splits, comes together, it splits, and that's the way time works for me. And the way I see it. So when people say, well, the dollar is going to collapse, I'm like, it's already collapsed. It's already collapsed. You just don't see it yet. You're not aware. And that's okay, because you're holding on to your fear. But one day you'll let it go and you'll realize that it's already collapsed. And some people are in that world now. And then there's people who say, oh, no, I'm fine, everything's fine. But that lie is such an imbalance of reality for them that they don't understand why they're depressed. They don't understand why they want to die every day that they wake up, because they're not aware. So it's already collapsed. You just have to be mindful of it and find out where are you going to place your attention so that you can still continue to take action and use the instrument that you're in, because it really doesn't matter. What matters is your body. What matters is your micro universe that you're facilitating to bring in the new vibrations, because you're already here. So that's why I wrote my book. You know, like I was like, holy crap, I gotta live, I gotta be now. You know, and that's the only thing we have to do, just remember. I don't know if that answered your question.
Sure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
One of the things, something you said kind of triggered something, I thought, and that is that, you know, we're seeing all of this chaos happening, you know, around the world, especially in the United States, where you've got, you know, this really ugly part of the United States, people that are just acting with a lot of hate. And then you've got the other side, you've got people that are, you know, awakening, you know, with this rising consciousness to basically move the other direction, right? To move in the direction of love. And it's really becoming very distinct, right? Of like which side you're on, right? You're either, like he was saying, like going backwards, like your energy is rising in whatever direction you're going, right? So for people who are raising their vibration, it's getting higher. And for people that have a lower vibration, their lower vibration is also getting higher, or deeper. And so you're seeing that division, and there's going to be a parting, and that's where the purity waves come in, right? Because when those purity waves come in, from what I'm understanding from Ray, that
As they're coming in.
That, you know, we can't foretell the future, but, you know.
Who says?
Right, exactly. So, you know, who knows what is going to happen? You know, from what Ray's teachers are saying, that, you know, the people that are rising in consciousness are going to actually go into a different realm.
Yes, that's what I see.
Right? And whereas, and the people who are lowering their consciousness are going away.
Yeah, we're just splitting.
We're just like,
We're creating alternative realities.
yeah.
So that's my understanding. That's what I see, and that's what my knowing tells me, is that if you're going to vibrate at the frequency of fear, then that's your vibrational path. And so it's very important that we learn to accept the fear, understand why it's there, and you know what? Let it exist, but let it exist outside of you, because it's an illusion. And when you are mindful and aware of yourself, I mean, gosh, when we're inside of ourselves, we're like, oh, you're in your power. So at that point, while other people say, oh, this is what's going wrong, the dollar's collapsed, I can't afford anything, I'm like, somehow, some way, I'm still managing to pay my bills. Somehow, some way, I'm still managing it because I'm not focusing on that. Like, I keep getting bombarded with like financial liabilities left and right. Like, they're just coming at me. And I've had to be aware and shift my awareness to, this is not scarcity. It's not scarcity. Scarcity doesn't exist for you. So, you know, be the squirrel, you know? And so what happens is that I just keep having money, even though I keep getting hit with all these financial challenges. But for a person who's vibrating on the wrong frequency, what they're going to experience is that they're going to lose the shirt off their back, because they were resistant to the frequency that would have brought them beyond that challenge. And they stayed in this emotional loop of fear, and it paralyzed them, and it kept them from being action-oriented towards an opportunity that would protect them from a lifestyle that causes them to lose things. So people say, oh, you're lucky. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just aware. And things just happen to me. Like, I still remember, like, simple things like not being able to pay bills and saying, oh my gosh, I don't have any money. I lost my job. My car transmission just died. And then I just didn't know how I was going to survive. And you know what? A check for $2,000 shows up in the mail for me from my school saying, oh, that's how you're going to survive. And I was like, crikey. And stuff like that happened to me all the time. The only time it didn't happen to me was when I was resistant to my authentic life. When I tried to stay in a marriage that was not a marriage that resonated with my spiritual identity. You know, I was with a man, and the truth is that I'm not meant to be with a man. You know, and I forced that shoe on myself, and I kept trying to fit. I tried to fit, and I was like, oh God, I need a way out of this. I need help. And they were like, okay, here's the collapse of your world. Thank you. I love you. And I was like, oh my God, my life is over. And I was like, wait a minute. When the pieces fell and I stopped trembling and quaking with fear, I was like completely healed. And so I realized that I just had to shred all those layers of conditioning off myself and just purify myself through the fire of toxic resistance and just become who I'm meant to be. And then one day I was like, holy crap, I'm just so happy now. So I think that's applicable for anybody in life. If you're experiencing a lot of challenges, it's because you're not vibrating at the right frequency of acceptance and awareness, and you're resistant to your intentional path. And once you get into alignment, those things will fall off, including the chaos that comes with the collapse of the dollar, because it's already here for some people.
There's a theme I keep hearing going through this last several minutes of dialogue, and I'm going to add a bit of science to this conscious raising conversation. So, you know, we're all moving through this in light particles of space and time. So as we are moving through these processes, all of us, all pieces of us are moving through this. And you might consider this to be, we think about it in the third dimensional reality, into the fifth dimensional shift. We think of it like that way. It's 3 plus 1 is what it's called. Third dimension plus time, fourth dimension. So, but we're moving from a matter dimension into a higher dimensional space. But our particles are doing something that most people would probably understand from 7th grade science, that when an energy enters an atomic field, it'll cause an orbital shift of electrons. So some of those electrons will stay at one level, and they will stay functioning and doing their jobs and purposes at that level. But the other conscious rays or charged particles will move out in the electron field. And that's what a lot of us are doing. It's happening inside of us. So all of these divisions in our realities are happening on scalar levels. You know, it's scalar consciousness and scalar matter that's making this just happen. So we're seeing the effects here, you know, in ourselves. We're seeing it as the division of our cultures and economies and societies change. And we're seeing it in what our abilities are, what we are able to perceive in the process. So one of the things that I and then we'll shift a little bit here into the metaphysical side. It's like we are able to tap into, as our particles are energized and charged, we are able to see what higher consciousness is already aware of, what is happening in all of these possibilities of time. And I love seeing this in culture. I love the, you probably all have seen Dr. Strange.
Yes, we just talked about it today.
So he did his little independent, separate movie in the Marvel universe, and it was very awakening to a lot of people. And he was brought into the awareness of all these other realities. He was very smart, so he got it quickly and became Sorcerer Supreme, I believe was what his title is. And then in the Avengers movie, he goes into exploring 14 million possibilities and only one outcome, for consciousness to move through this barrier, So that's what we're facing. We're facing what is all of these other 14 million possibilities will slowly decay away, and there will be one reality that emerges, and we're hopefully going to be part of it. So we won't leave that the fodder that stays in the orbital electrons behind. We'll be a part of the conscious movement. All of it will be moving forward regardless. I like to travel in time. Gotten pretty good at it, and one of the things that I see in the local time is that we have some things coming up very soon. In the next, I say soon. You said something about. Well, no, I'm looking a little further out. Soon to me is irrelevant, I guess. I'm thinking in the next few years, there's some major shifts happening as the planets, the outer planets begin to invade our consciousness. When Uranus is currently in Taurus, which recently happened in the last year or so. We've got over 6 years. So Uranus is the revolutionary planet, is the chaotic electric energy of the divine heavens being shot like a lightning bolt into Earth. Taurus is an Earth sign. So we are embodying this electrified consciousness, and the more we can take that on, the more we can hold that without exploding, most of it will explode or implode. But as we hold that and can use that current within us to move our molecules into this next phase, then we'll be faced with another challenge. It's going to move into Gemini, which is air, and once it moves slow in Earth, it will move into air, and that is going to electrify the mind, which is Gemini. Combined with Pluto, the deep planet of hidden knowledge, it will be moving into Aquarius. These two are air signs, and the next few years are going to offer some major shifts culturally. It's happening slowly right now as we're in these both in Earth signs. Pluto's in Capricorn and Uranus is in Taurus. But as soon as they shift into air, hang on to your hats. It's going to be a challenge for society at large, let's say. Now looking a little further out, 700 years from now, it's all good. Yeah, go out a few hundred years, and they're like looking back on us as, what were those people thinking back then? I couldn't make this done, got it right, It's kind of like us looking back 700 years in the the early Middle Ages, and like, man, what were they thinking back then? Crazy, But they were going through what they were going through in their consciousness. And the kicker is, it's all one consciousness. There's no conspiracy overall. So what's happening with this? So I like listening with a joyous ear to some of the stuff that's happening in politics and whatnot, and then the comedy that is Trump and the comedy that is our political system, because it's all one consciousness doing its one alchemical thing here on Earth. It's dissolving one way of thinking and bringing about another way of thinking as we move into the next level of the chakra awareness or planetary awareness. So a little bit of science, a little bit of metaphysics tied into that little dialogue. So, anyway, you sparked that. Thank you.
You have a time frame for Gemini?
For Gemini, it will be about 6 more years. Yeah. So once Uranus moves out, Uranus travels about 7 years per sign, 84 years to travel around the zodiac every 42 years as a half cycle, every 21. So you'll experience these in your own life, these changes and shifts. So, yeah. So anyone who's on 42 is going to be a shift, and anyone who, if you make it to 84, you made a full cycle around. Think of it like the Saturn return. A lot of people in astrology understand Saturn return. Every 29 years is an ass kicker in a way. Excuse me, I'm not supposed to say that. But it will put you in your place if you haven't done your work when Saturn comes around about age 29. Uranus does the same thing at different cycles. So as it moves to its full sign in Taurus, this is why everyone right now should be really doing what we're doing, embodying this consciousness on a cellular level, and then taking that in, channeling that up, opening the third eye if you want to. It's not great for everyone. It does make you uncomfortable. Yeah, that's part of it. I posted something on my page yesterday. A calm sea makes for a poor sailor. It's like you're just out there comfortable on the sea. You're not going to be a good sailor.
Right.
But I think I added something like I must be an admiral by now, because I've had some rough freaking seas in my life, but I've learned to enjoy it. I've learned to try to navigate the ship according to my plan, my programming of what's been brought to me. So. I just say anyone, don't go into fear about what's going to happen. Just avoid that fear process. Don't drop into lower vibration, or it will keep you in a little structure that's going to be bound to this other process. If you are a part of, or wish to be a part of, join onto the side of the higher vibrational shift that's going to knock us into the next orbital alignment. So hopefully everybody caught that dialogue. What we're talking about.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, glad to be here. One more thing I will add to this, and I knew triggered something when you mentioned a little while ago. I used to have a tendency to think of us all transcending. We're all moving up, and then some of us will not. We'll stay sort of daughter for what's happening. It's the cycle of life. But really, it's also the other way that the Godhead is descending. So the Godhead is dropping back into our consciousness. So when you go into the higher spaces, you realize, okay, the Godhead, the higher consciousness self, is reintegrating, readapting what it means to be in matter again. To the spirit reorienting itself to what it has to do to be here in matter and make it hopefully a little more comfortable, in the future. They think of it as biblically, it would be to reestablish God's kingdom here on earth. So what's happening is God wants to come back to earth and have a little bit more fun. The humans have, in their ego selves, have been trapped down here doing our own little thing and going a little nuts at times, It's like, all right, we really want to establish a better way of being on the planet. So, whatever you think of as God or higher consciousness, or the Purusha is what I refer to it as, the cosmic being in the Vedic sciences, the one being that is bound to this planet is coming back online. Been away for a while, letting us do our thing, but dropping back in, so that it's like, now let's get serious as to what we can do with all of us working together. So I just something sparked that